Gary's mod has become one of the best-selling Steam on game, selling well over 10 million copies. Throughout its life, these millions of people have found hundreds of different ways to play the game. Some use it as a multiplayer shooter, some use it as a sandbox to create anything they dream, and some use it in more interesting ways. But we all have one thing in common. We once started the game being totally clueless with no add-ons. Chances are, when we first started playing Gmod, we made a sandbox game on one of two maps, GM Flatgrass and GM Construct. Now, all these years later, GM Construct is still remembered as a great map. I'm gonna show you why. I first started playing Gmod in 2015. Back in 2015, I didn't know there was a mod for Half-Life 2. I'd never played Half-Life 2. In fact, the only Source or even Valve game I had played were Portal and its sequel, so when I first booted up Gmod, I had no idea how to use the Source engine, and Gmod doesn't really have a tutorial. Or does it? What does a perfect tutorial level have in it? The answer is simple. It has situations that let you try out all of your moves. And a tutorial doesn't need to have dozens of text boxes to work. But just look at Half-Life 2. That game has a tutorial integrated into its world without you even realizing it. Back to GM Construct. It is also a tutorial level without you realizing it. Think about it. What are the kinds of things you'll encounter on a Gmod map? A flat area, some slopes, buildings, a hallway, and maybe some water, and the occasional dark room. GM Construct has all of these, and in a perfect setup too. Due to the small size of the map, it is easy to go to each of these tutorial areas individually, without them interfering with each other. This is how I found out how to use everything in Source, and if I can teach someone as clueless as me, it's a pretty great tutorial. The main appeal of Gmod, and the reason it stayed so relevant so long, is the thousands of add-ons made by fans. These are loads of fun to mess around with and see their destructive power, but to get the scope of what they can do, you need somewhere to test them, and where better to try that on than GM Construct. If you want to test a new lamp, try the dark room. If you want to try a new vehicle, drive it on the narrow area near the water. Weapons, test them in a hallway with a friend. New player model, see how groovy you look in the mirror. Overall, GM Construct has a place designed to test all the add-ons you could ever find in the workshop. Except maps, obviously. You know, map add-ons actually bring me to the next point. Throughout its life, Gmod has hundreds of community-made maps contributed to its workshop, and yet, Construct still remains the most iconic map in the game. When I think of Gmod, three maps come to mind. First, Construct, for obvious reasons. Second, Flatgrass. Flatgrass is an odd map. It is the only other map included with the base game, and it is one of the worst maps in the game. It is exactly what it sounds like. It is flat, with one tiny building in the middle. The problem with Flatgrass is there is nothing to do on it that Construct doesn't do better. And if you want a flat map, there are dozens of workshop maps that are improved as a Flatgrass. The third map that comes to mind is Big City. Big City is probably the second most iconic map in Gmod. Back in the day of Gmod animations, this map was everywhere, and with good reason. That feels like an extension of the rules that Construct sets. With a huge variety of terrains and obstacles, the map has some notable differences though. It is more focused on exploration, and there are a lot more buildings and secrets. It is also a lot larger, which, when combined with the huge buildings, make the map feel very confusing to navigate. Now think of all of these three on a spectrum. Flatgrass is one extreme, being entirely focused on building things. Big City has no room for building things and is more focused on being a huge map to explore and try things out. Construct is dead in the middle. It is a perfect balance of both these, which makes it a perfect map. GM Construct falls into a perfect balance of maps in a way that no other map in Gmod has done so well. It is great for trying things, it is great for building things, it is great in multiplayer, but it's also nice to do animation. It is a perfect test site, and it's a perfect tutorial. To wrap things up, GM Construct strikes a delicate balance and does so in perfect execution, better than those that I've tried, which is why it's remembered so fondly today.